Every day, we see the darker side of the world around us. We witness how people can hurt others in ways that are hard to understand. It's a sad part of life, but it's something we can't ignore. As someone who dives into the world of crime, I'm here to share the most shocking stories and try to understand what drives people to do such things. I'm Michael, and today, I've got another unreal true crime story for you. It was a quiet evening in a peaceful Austin neighborhood, the kind of place where nothing unusual ever seemed to happen. But on May 11th, 2022, that calm was shattered. Inside a small apartment tucked away from the main road, something terrible happened, a discovery that would lead to a shocking story of love, jealousy, and betrayal. That night, the silence was broken by the sound of footsteps and something far more disturbing. How did things reach this point, and who could be behind it? As investigators started connecting the dots, they uncovered a story no one saw coming. Mariah Wilson, affectionately called Mo, was born on May 18, 1996 in Littleton, New Hampshire. Mariah grew up in Kirby, Vermont, alongside her parents, Eric Wilson and Karen, and her brother, Matthew Wilson. She graduated in 2019 with a degree in engineering. Those who knew her described her as talented, kind, and compassionate. From a young age, Mariah stood out as an exceptional athlete. In high school, she captained the football team. Coming from a family with a deep love for skiing, it was no surprise that sports played a major role in her life. Her father, Eric, had nearly made it to the Olympics as a professional skier, and her mother, Karen, was an avid mountain cyclist. The family spent countless winters skiing and summers exploring mountain trails on their bikes in Vermont. Mariah's skills in skiing developed early, guided by her father's enthusiasm and the encouragement of her trainer, Craig, who often suggested she pursue competitive mountain biking. While skiing remained her first love, she balanced it with cycling, using it as a cross-training activity. By her teenage years, Mariah was excelling in alpine skiing. She achieved a national ranking as a junior skier and placed third in the downhill event at the U.S. Junior National Championships in 2013. After graduating high school, Mariah took a gap year to focus on skiing but suffered an accident. Determined to recover, she turned to cycling as part of her rehabilitation. While at Dortmund University, she joined the alpine skiing team and continued to impress on the slopes. Beyond sports, Mariah enjoyed cooking, writing, traveling, especially to Italy, and spending time with friends at taco nights and board game evenings. After college, Mariah transitioned to competitive gravel cycling, a discipline blending mountain biking, road cycling, and cyclocross, primarily on unpaved roads. Her natural talent and drive quickly elevated her to national recognition. By May 2022, she had won nearly 10 major races. Mariah worked as an engineer for Specialized, a prominent bicycle company, but left in 2022 to dedicate herself fully to cycling. Alongside her career, she dreamed of giving back to the community. She returned to Vermont to establish a cyclist-friendly space where riders could connect, enjoy local food, and share stories over coffee. Mariah's kindness, humility, and competitive spirit made her a beloved figure in the cycling world. Tragically, Mariah's promising future was cut short. On May 11th, 2022, while visiting Austin, Texas before a race, she stayed at her friend Caitlin Cash's home. That evening, she met fellow elite cyclist Colin Strickland for a swim at the Deep Eddy Pool. Afterward, Colin dropped her off at Caitlin's house around 8:30 p.m. This was the last time Mariah was seen alive. When Caitlin returned home later that night, she discovered Mariah in the bathroom, covered in blood. Despite calling 911 and attempting CPR, it was too late. The police arrived to find Mariah with 3 gunshot wounds, 2 to the head and 1 to the chest. She was pronounced dead at the scene, just a week shy of her 26th birthday. The crime scene, a modest home hidden by foliage in a quiet neighborhood, revealed little to neighbors, who reported hearing nothing unusual. An autopsy confirmed Mariah had been shot with a 9mm firearm. The chest wound, inflicted while she was already on the ground, had an exit wound in her back. Investigators found her high-end racing bike abandoned in nearby bushes. Mariah's death left her family, friends, and the cycling community devastated. She was not only a gifted athlete but also an inspiration to many, remembered for her compassion, dedication, and vibrant spirit. Initially, Colin Strickland was considered the prime suspect, as he was the last person to see Mariah Wilson alive. Investigators soon uncovered a complicated history involving Colin and Mariah. In the fall of 2021, Colin, then 35, had a brief romantic relationship with Mariah during a temporary separation from his on-and-off girlfriend, Caitlin Armstrong. Caitlin, 34, was originally from a suburb of Detroit, Michigan, but had been living in Texas. Known for her striking red hair, Caitlin was an accomplished athlete in her youth, excelling in volleyball, track, and even dabbling in basketball. As an adult, she built a successful career as a yoga instructor and a certified real estate agent. Following his brief relationship with Mariah, Colin reconciled with Caitlin, and the couple began living together. According to Colin, his connection with Mariah became strictly platonic and professional, though he admitted keeping their friendship a secret from Caitlin. When questioned by the police, Colin initially denied knowing Mariah but later confessed to their relationship. He revealed that he had communicated with Mariah behind Caitlin's back, going so far as to delete text messages and save her number under a pseudonym. An affidavit later detailed that Caitlin suspected Colin's romantic involvement with Mariah had continued into early 2022. Allegedly, upon learning of this perceived betrayal, Caitlin expressed a strong desire to harm Mariah. An anonymous source claimed Caitlin mentioned either recently purchasing or planning to buy a firearm. Adding to the complexity, Colin admitted to buying 2 guns earlier that year, one for himself and one for Caitlin. Investigators later learned from a friend of Mariah's that Caitlin had contacted her multiple times, demanding that she stay away from Colin. However, Mariah's family stated that she was not romantically involved with anyone at the time of her death. Caitlin's potential connection to the crime scene grew stronger when surveillance footage captured a car matching her vehicle near the house where Mariah was staying. The footage showed the car approaching the residence just 1 minute after Colin had dropped Mariah off on the evening of May 11, 2022. Another camera later recorded chilling audio of a woman's screams followed by gunshots. In a bizarre turn of events, Caitlin was detained 24 hours after the murder on an unrelated 2018 arrest warrant for failing to pay a $650 bill for a facial treatment. This gave the police a brief window to question her about Mariah's death. Caitlin remained mostly silent during the interrogation, but reacted visibly when asked about Colin and Mariah's relationship, rolling her eyes and turning her head in apparent frustration. When pressed about the surveillance footage, Caitlin ended the interview. Due to a clerical error on her warrant, Caitlin was released, but she remained the prime suspect. Meanwhile, the investigation intensified. Police obtained search warrants for Colin's DNA, phone records, Caitlin's 2 phones, her laptop, and another property in Austin that she owned. Text messages revealed that Colin had contacted Caitlin immediately after leaving Moriah, just 1 minute before her car was seen on surveillance near the crime scene. Authorities concluded that Caitlin had likely followed Colin and Moriah during part of their time together that evening. Further searches uncovered 2 firearms in the home Caitlin shared with Colin. Ballistic tests matched one of the guns to the shell casings found at the scene. Investigators also learned Caitlin had recently visited a shooting range with her sister, Christine Armstrong, to practice using the weapon. On May 13, 2022, the day after her police interview, Caitlin sold her car to a dealership for $12,000. The next day, she flew from Austin to Houston before boarding a connecting flight to New York. On May 17, police issued a warrant for her arrest on homicide charges. By then, Caitlin had already begun her escape. Authorities later discovered that Caitlin had briefly stayed at a camp known as Haven for Humanity in New York, where her sister Christine lived. When questioned, Christine admitted Caitlin had visited her for a couple of days before being driven to Newark Airport. As the manhunt continued, Moriah's family and friends mourned her loss. A private memorial service was held, and the Wilson family launched a fundraising campaign to support community organizations helping youth build confidence through cycling and skiing. Shortly after Caitlin Armstrong disappeared, her sister Christine received a call in which Caitlin claimed she was planning to return to Austin by car. However, on May 18, 2022, Caitlin was spotted at Newark Airport. Authorities found no flight reservations under her name, but Christine had mentioned something troubling. Caitlin didn't seem to know where her passport was. A subsequent investigation revealed that someone using the name Christine Armstrong boarded a flight from Newark to Costa Rica. Authorities quickly concluded it was Caitlin, using her sister's passport to flee. With this revelation, they determined her destination but knew the hunt was far from over. On May 25th, a week after Caitlin's last confirmed sighting, federal authorities issued a warrant for her arrest on charges of unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. This escalated the search to a major case, allocating additional resources to track her down. By June 6th, the U.S. Marshals announced a $5,000 reward for information leading to her capture, but Caitlin seemed to have vanished. On June 23rd, with no new leads, the reward increased to $21,000, thanks to $1,000 from Crime Stoppers and $15,000 from an anonymous donor. A month after Caitlin's disappearance, U.S. Marshals focused their search on Costa Rica, speculating she might be in Santa Teresa, a small Pacific coast town popular with tourists. There, investigators learned Caitlin had attended yoga classes under 3 aliases. Authorities even sent an undercover female agent to yoga sessions in hopes of spotting her. Caitlin's love for yoga ultimately led to her downfall. After days without progress, authorities launched an unconventional tactic, posting fake ads seeking a yoga instructor, hoping to lure her out. Their efforts paid off. On June 29, 2022, after 43 days on the run, Caitlin was arrested at a beach hostel in Santa Teresa, Costa Rica. At the time of her capture, she had altered her appearance by cutting and dyeing her hair. She had also undergone cosmetic surgery, including rhinoplasty, to change the shape of her nose. The U.S. Marshals extradited Caitlin back to Texas, where she was formally charged on July 20, 2022. During her arraignment, she pleaded not guilty to the charge of murder. Bail was set at $3.5 million, and Caitlin was held in the Travis County Women's Jail. A month later, her defense attorneys filed motions accusing authorities of falsehoods and inaccuracies in the affidavit, arguing the evidence against Caitlin was flawed. Over the following months, her lawyers sought to suppress various pieces of evidence, including statements made during her initial police interview. However, in November, the judge denied the motions, setting the trial date for June 26, 2023. The trial was later postponed to October at the defense's request. On October 11, 2023, Caitlin attended a medical appointment in South Austin under police supervision. In an unexpected twist, she attempted to escape. As she exited the clinic, Caitlin made a run for it but was recaptured just 1 block away after a 10-minute chase. 2 officers were injured during the pursuit, leading to an additional felony charge of escape causing bodily harm. After multiple delays, Caitlin's trial finally began on November 1, 2023, at the Travis County Criminal Court. During opening statements, Prosecutor Ricky Jones outlined the events leading to May 11, 2022. He highlighted Moriah Wilson's achievements as a talented and promising young athlete whose life was cut short. Jones described Moriah's final moments, punctuated by her terrified screams captured on surveillance footage, evidence that would later be presented to the jury. He detailed the tangled relationships between the key individuals in the case, emphasizing the volatility of Caitlin and Colin's on-again, off-again relationship and the emotional entanglements that led to tragedy. The defense attorney countered by focusing on the circumstantial nature of the evidence. He pointed out the lack of direct proof linking Caitlin to the crime and argued that the jury would hear about situations that painted his client as a victim of adverse circumstances rather than the perpetrator of the crime. Throughout the trial, over 40 witnesses testified, including experts in DNA analysis, ballistics, and forensic pathology. Moriah's friend Caitlin Cash, who discovered her body, was among the first to testify. Cash recounted her harrowing 911 call, which was played in court. The recording revealed her panic as she described Moriah's condition, including the blood pooling on the floor. Her voice cracked with emotion as she relived the traumatic moment. Austin police officers also took the stand, presenting body camera footage as evidence. The trial painted a vivid picture of the events surrounding Moriah's death and the tangled relationships that led to Caitlin's dramatic escape and ultimate capture. During the trial, the defense attorney questioned crime scene procedures, asking whether officers wore gloves and how the scene's integrity was maintained. All officers testified that gloves were indeed used. Among the defendant's acquaintances called to testify was Nicole, who recounted a chilling conversation with Caitlin Armstrong. When asked how she would react if Colin Strickland began dating someone else, Caitlin allegedly replied, "I'd kill her." On the 3rd day of the trial, Colin Strickland took the stand. He described his 2-year relationship with Caitlin as a mix of emotional highs and lows, tumultuous at times but deeply loving at others. Colin admitted to a brief romantic affair with Moriah Wilson in October 2021 after meeting her during a 3-day race in Idaho. To avoid conflicts with Caitlin, he revealed that he had saved Moriah's contact under the name Christine Wall on his phone. Text messages between Colin and Caitlin were also introduced as evidence, including one from October 28, 2021, in which Caitlin expressed disapproval of "that girl," referring to Moriah. Matthew Wilson, Moriah's brother, testified about his close relationship with her, emphasizing that they spoke frequently. In response to defense questions, he asserted that Moriah was not in love with Colin. David Harris, who lived in the unit below where Moriah was killed, testified that he was in his garage smoking cannabis that night. He heard someone running down the stairs and the sound of a bicycle but did not hear gunshots. Digital evidence played a significant role in the trial. Investigators extracted data from Caitlin's phone, revealing that she had viewed photos of Moriah on social media and followed her activities on a popular app used by athletes to share location data and comments. Prosecutors also presented several email accounts linked to Caitlin, which she used to purchase flights, prepaid cards, and a VPN service to obscure her location. Caitlin's search history surprised the court. On May 27, 2022, while in Costa Rica, she searched her own name and read news articles about Mariah's death and her involvement in the case. On June 23, she searched whether pineapples could erase fingerprints and explored other methods for removing them, such as burning. GPS data from Caitlin's vehicle further implicated her. On the night of May 11, 2022, her car moved to the alley behind Caitlin Cash's apartment, the only access point to the garage where Mariah was staying. At 9:17 p.m., the car left the area and traveled to Caitlin's residence. The deputy medical examiner testified about the autopsy findings. She described a gunshot wound to the right side of Mariah's face, a scalp wound on the right side of her head, and another gunshot wound to the left side of her chest. These injuries, she concluded, were consistent with homicide. A firearms expert testified about his analysis of ballistic evidence. He described matching shell casings from the crime scene to the gun linked to Caitlin, further bolstering the prosecution's case. During cross-examination, the defense questioned his scientific methodology, challenging the reliability of his conclusions. They called Bill Tobin, a materials scientist and expert, to rebut the firearms expert's findings. Bill argued that the methods used by firearm examiners were flawed, citing the lack of a clear definition for what constitutes a significant match between bullets and the inherent variations in firearm manufacturing, which could complicate distinguishing casings fired from different guns. The trial lasted 2 weeks, culminating on November 16, 2023, with closing arguments. The prosecution emphasized Caitlin's actions and digital trail in the weeks before and after Mariah Wilson's murder. They urged the jury to assess the evidence with common sense and logic. The defense, in turn, questioned Collins' credibility as a witness and argued that Caitlin's behavior showed no signs of criminal intent. After just 2 hours of deliberation, the jury reached a verdict. The judge announced that Caitlin Armstrong was found guilty of the murder of cyclist Mariah Wilson. As the verdict was read, Mariah's family and friends erupted in tears of joy and embraced each other in the courtroom. Before the case concluded, the judge allowed Caitlin Cash, Mariah's friend, and Karen Wilson, Mariah's mother, to deliver victim impact statements. Caitlin Cash spoke first, expressing her deep grief and frustration. She described the emptiness of losing Mariah and the constant reminders of the tragedy, as she still lived in the apartment where the crime occurred. Bullet holes in the walls served as painful visual reminders, contributing to her post-traumatic stress disorder and panic attacks. Karen Wilson followed, addressing Caitlin directly with raw emotion. She called Caitlin's actions selfish and cowardly, lamenting the loss of her beautiful and vibrant daughter. Karen declared that while Caitlin had destroyed Mariah's physical body, her spirit would live on forever. The next day, November 17, 2023, after 3.5 hours of deliberation, the jury sentenced Caitlin Armstrong to 90 years in prison. Caitlin was immediately transferred to a state prison. Under the terms of her sentence, she would be eligible for parole after serving 30 years. In December 2023, Caitlin began the appeals process, with her attorney filing a motion for a new trial, alleging, among other claims, that Caitlin was pregnant at the time of her arrest. As of this report, there have been no further updates on the appeals. On January 18, 2024, Caitlin was transferred to a women's prison in Gatesville, Texas, where she is expected to serve the remainder of her sentence. On May 6, 2024, Mariah's parents filed a civil lawsuit against Caitlin for wrongful death, seeking $1 million in damages. They stated that the final determination of damages would be left to a jury and noted that the compensation was intended to cover funeral and burial expenses and help address the emotional toll caused by Mariah's death. The lawsuit also aimed to ensure Caitlyn could not profit from her crime in any way. The tragic loss of Mariah Wilson has left an indelible mark on her community and everyone connected to the case. As Caitlyn Armstrong serves her sentence and legal battles continue, Mariah's memory lives on in the hearts of those who loved and admired her. Thanks for tuning in to Unreal True Crime. If you're intrigued by mysteries from around the world, check out our new channel, Latin Crimes, where we dive into the gripping true crime stories of Latin America. Don't miss out. Subscribe now for more thrilling investigations.